Hey guys, it's your girl Vanessa. Welcome back to my channel and thank you guys all for tuning in again. So guys, first off, I'm having a bad hair day, okay? So please don't judge me. I know this situation isn't ideal. Secondly, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for all of your love and support. I cannot believe that we reached 15,000 subscribers. I can't believe that 15,000 people actually thought, oh my god, let me hit the subscribe button. So yeah, I just wanted to say I love you guys and thank you from the bottom of my heart. I am so beyond grateful for this amazing community that we have together. So yeah, apart from that, we have a next week's prediction, next week's reading. I want you to pick one of the 4 groups. And as usual, the timestamps will be down below, so you can click the timestamp and fast forward to your personal reading. And as usual, I would just like to put a little disclaimer out there. If you feel drawn to 2 cards or you can't make up your mind, you know, feel free to tune into 2 readings. Your personal reading may be a mixture of 2 readings, but ideally I would like you to pick one. So yeah, you guys, that is it for today's intro. I hope it wasn't too long. So yeah, that is it, you guys. I want to get straight into the readings. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's reading. So we have group number 1, group number 2, group number 3, and group number 4. So I want you to pick your group or groups intuitively. So if you need a minute just to meditate on the cards, feel free to pause this video in order for you to make the right decision for you. And as mentioned before, the timestamps will be down below. So yeah, you guys, I'm gonna get straight into it with group number 1. Okay, so group number 1, let's see what you need to watch out for next week. So we have the 4 of Swords. So in the 4 of Swords, I see that you have been working really hard. You know, you're kind of tired and you're not really paying proper attention to yourself spiritually and on an emotional, mental level. So it's time for you to rest and really reflect on yourself and, you know, just how is your spiritual connection doing? How is your vibe? How are you doing mentally? So I see that it's time for you to just take a little break and reflect on yourself, how you've been doing recently, and, you know, also, are your beliefs corresponding with how you act? Are you walking the talk that you've been talking? So that's what I see in the 4 of Swords. Then we have the 8 of Pentacles. So in the 8 of Pentacles, I see once again, you know, you've been working really hard and you've come very far. So you've come a lot further from where you've started and you're really like fine-tuning your abilities. But in correlation with the 4 of Swords, the universe is trying to tell you to take a step back and look at the work that you've done. Look at what you're putting out into the world and reflect on it, but also enjoy how far you've come. Don't take any of these little steps that you've accomplished for granted. And, you know, next week, really make sure that you're grateful for all that it is that you have in your life and be grateful for all the improvements that you've done, like throughout the years, throughout the last months, and just see how far you've come and just take a moment to be in the moment and also to enjoy all of the little fruits of your labor. Then we have the Ace of Swords. So I see that next week there's going to be some sort of new beginning for you. You know, the Ace is always a new beginning, it's a fresh start. So I see that it's time for you, after you've reflected on your life and your choices, on, you know, how you've been doing in work. Have you maybe been working a bit too much, or is there an area that you haven't paid a lot of attention to? I see that once you've reflected on things, the Ace of Swords shows me that next week is the time for a new spiritual start, for a new mental start. I see that you need to reset your brain a little and also, you know, go for what you want. But I see that communication is very important. The Swords is, you know, the suit of communication, of things that are happening internally. So I see that you're going to have a new, fresh beginning. And that could just be because you have, you know, energy, because you've been able to rest, or you found sort of spots where you're a little bit deficient. I see that you're going to want to turn the leaf and improve, you know, your health. You may want to improve the work that you're doing. So next week I feel like you're going to have a newfound motivation to just restart things in the earthly realms. Then we have the devil. So thankfully you're watching this reading so you know what to look out for, but the devil is usually something that comes into your life that is very sort of negative, that isn't good for you, and that may have a lasting impact. So it's important for you next week to look out for anything that may be sabotaging your week. So that could be someone trying to come back in your life or trying to make contact with you who is not a good person for you to have around. It could be someone that you were in a toxic relationship with, either a platonic relationship or a sexual relationship. But it could also be that you're maybe overindulging in alcohol, partying, just behavior that isn't very healthy for you. So that's something you need to look out for next week. You know, don't let any sort of negativity that you've already dealt with in the past, don't let it make a reappearance in your life. Then we have gratitude. So I see that it's important for you to be grateful for everything that you have. I feel like in the Eight of Pentacles, maybe you've forgotten where you started and how far you've truly come, and just how many amazing things have actually happened in your life. I feel like maybe you've been focusing a lot on something that isn't really beneficial for you to focus on. You know, maybe that's where the devil comes in and is telling you to really knock it off and take time to think about things, to recuperate, and, you know, just to see the good, to be grateful, see all of the amazing things that you have accomplished. Because just sort of being aware of how amazing your life is and how many blessings are in your life, that could already be, you know, the Ace of Swords for you. So next week you may have this realization that, hey, you know, this is a new sort of positive beginning for me. Then we have Archangel Raphael. So I see that Archangel Raphael is going to be there subconsciously, is going to help you to heal your mind, your body, and your spirit while you're really reevaluating your behavior, the people in your life, just your general situation. I see that you're going to feel sort of guided and you're going to feel this feeling of warmth, and that's how you know that your angel is with you. Then we have moving forward. So get ready for positive change. So I definitely see in correlation with the Ace of Swords that next week is sort of the end of a mental blockage that you may have had, because the Four of Swords really shows me that, you know, maybe there's just something that is blocking you internally, mentally, and next week is the week to move forward. So you're going to overcome that, and you've watched this reading for a reason. So you're going to be able to sort of avoid and dodge the devil, as well as just be grateful for what you have. That way, moving forward, any little blessings that you encounter, any sort of meaningful and amazing coincidences, you know, you're going to be ready for them and you're going to know that you're moving forward. So by the end of next week, I see you really moving forward into a new sort of headspace with new sort of positivity. So if the beginning of the week is a little tough, just know that you need to recharge and think about things before you can truly heal and ultimately move forward. Okay, group number 2, let's see what you need to watch out for next week. So I see in the Lovers that next week is a time to focus on your relationships. I see that this is a very positive time for platonic as well as sexual relationships. So if you are in a relationship, you know, this is a time of intimacy. This is a time of being together and spending time together. And, you know, if you're single, this may be time to focus on just people that you love generally in your life. This may be a time to give them that extra attention. As you know, I see it's important for you to pay attention to the ones that you love. Correlation with strength. I feel like the Lovers is trying to tell you that true strength really is compassion. True strength is not just thinking about yourself, but, you know, thinking about other people. So make sure that you use strength next week, as I see that strength is a quality that is going to be heightened in you next week. So make sure that you see things from the perspective of a bigger person, so to say. So if someone is pushing your buttons next week, or you feel like, you know, someone is kind of trying to pick a fight, just know that strength is compassion. Strength is understanding other people and not trying to be right and not trying to win in any way. So next week I see you just being all love, all positivity, and also sort of like calm, okay? I see that you're very calm. I see, you know, in strength we have this lady sort of who has tamed this wild animal. So I see that the sort of instinctive and almost animalistic side of you, you've tamed that. You know, you're all peace, love, and strength. So that's what I see next week. Then in the Four of Wands, I see stability, okay? I see next week you're going to be in a stable place. I feel like you're going to feel at home, sort of cozy, and this is a time to celebrate. I see that this is a great time to get together, you know, to plan a family get together or to plan a get together with friends, as everything is in a good alignment for that. So make sure that you spend some social time, and also make sure that you just enjoy the stability that you have in your life, and don't focus on anything that maybe isn't where you want it to be. Just focus on the things that make you feel good and make you feel like your life is in a really stable place. Then we have the Two of Swords. So in the Two of Swords, I can see that by the end of next week, it's going to be time to move forward, to make a decision. So I feel like you may have been in a place and a little stagnant for a bit longer than necessary. So now you're you just need to follow your intuition and your subconscious mind and spirit. So I see that you have, you know, 2 or more routes that you can go, and you're not really quite sure what to decide on. And I see that any decisions that you need to make, any big decisions that you need to make next week, you need to just make them intuitively and follow your heart. Then we have letting go. So I feel like letting go may have to do with the Two of Swords. So maybe you've been holding on to 2 possibilities for a while. That could be 2 possibilities as in what you can do with your career, what you can do with your love life, what you can do just personally in your spare time. And I see that it's time to let something go, because either way you're in a very stable place and strength is on your side next week. So make sure that you let go of anything that makes you feel torn. Make sure that you make decisions that need to be made, and just let go, because love is all around you and you're strong. Then we have originality. So one thing I see is that next week is a time for you to just be yourself and embrace who you are and do things your own way. Be creative your own way. If you have a decision to make or you need to let go of something, just do it however it feels right to you. I see that it's important for you to not think that you always need to do things the way people expect you to do it. A little bit of originality never hurt anyone, and you know, make sure that you're not being too influenced by what's in the mainstream media or what's sort of trendy right now. Just be yourself and like be a trendsetter. Then we have illusions. It's sort of apparent that maybe you have not been embracing, you know, this originality. Maybe you've been a little bit sucked in by social media or just mainstream media, as you know, we all get sucked in. So it's important for you to embrace the truth. And if that has to do with decision making, you know, make whatever decision feels like your truth. Make whatever decision you feel like is the realest and just resonates with you as a person the most. And just generally, I see that next week you're going to come to terms with the fact that there's nothing ugly about the truth. What's really ugly is just how people are always trying to portray these perfect images and perfect lives. So really see the beauty in truth and the beauty in embracing the truth. So those are the unexpected things that I see for you next week. Okay, group number 3. we have the Sun. So I see next week is a very warm, prosperous week for you. I see that all of the little plants that you've planted, all of the little efforts that you've put in, I see that they're going to grow. I see that just generally, like, next week is going to be amazing. I feel like maybe you haven't had such a good time recently. Maybe things have been a bit difficult. So I see that next week, you know, you're just going to be a ray of light and you're going to spread that all around you. So next week I just see as a really positive week overall. Then we have Temperance. So in correlation with the Sun, I feel like it's important to remind you next week not to overindulge, and also to watch, you know, what you do with sort of drugs and junk food. You know, don't overindulge in junk food or alcohol, drugs, anything like that just because you're having an amazing week. Make sure that you stay sensible and that you don't overdo anything, because sometimes when we're sort of like on a high and when things are going well, we tend to overindulge, and that's where temperance comes into play, and that's where temperance is really important. So listen to your spirits and listen to the universe. There's a reason why they're coming to warn you of overindulgence, of possible overindulgence, because they can see that next week is going to be a good week for you, and that you may have sort of the tendency to go all, you're sort of the person who is either, you know, it's nothing or you go all out there. So I see that it's important for you to practice temperance just in order to stay safe and in order to stay sane. Then we have the Knight of Pentacles. So you are really, next week is your week, okay? So in the Knight of Pentacles, I see that on an earthly realm, you're going to go for things, okay? You have direction, you know exactly what you want, and next week you're sort of just the go-getter of the world, okay? I see that especially for things in the earthly realms. I see that, you know, you're really motivated to get in shape. You're motivated to make that extra bit of cash, or, you know, to really study hard for your exams. Whatever it is in the earthly realms, I see that next week you're motivated, you're going for it, and there's nothing that can stop you. So keep that amazing energy. Then we have the Two of Cups. So I feel like you may sort of forget about relationships next week because it's such an amazing week for you. I see that it is a lot about you. And the Two of Cups is here to remind you to still be there for other people and still strengthen your relationships. You know, make sure you keep your relationships strong, as I see that with you being this positive ray of light, that can be a very positive influence, not only on things like financial success, physical success. I see that it can also be amazing for your relationships. So next week is a time to bond on an emotional level with someone close to you. It's a time to share the ray of light that is you. So don't be greedy with it and don't keep it from the world, okay? I see that you need to embrace yourself next week and, you know, let the world have a little piece of positive you. Then we have friendships. So I feel like this really goes well with the Two of Cups. I see that you really need to nurture your relationships because I feel like recently it may have been a lot about you, or you may have forgotten to ask someone about themselves and how they are doing because, you know, maybe you haven't had such an amazing time. Maybe you needed someone to help lift you up. Maybe you needed someone with an open ear, someone to talk to. And I feel like there's someone close to you next week who's going to need that same sort of support from you, who's going to need that same open ear from you. So be that support system for someone else, nurture your relationships, and make sure that you don't overlook anyone's needs for like emotional needs just because you are having an amazing time. So keep your eyes open for anyone who needs you on an emotional level. Then we have self-reliance. So I feel like self-reliance is definitely very heightened for you next week, as I already mentioned. You know, it's all about you and things are just going great for you as a person, and you're very self-reliant, okay? You don't feel like you need anyone, and that's a great feeling to have. And I feel like maybe this is sort of new for you. Maybe you were a little bit codependent for a little while. You sort of felt like being by yourself is scary, or you don't know what to do if you were by yourself. But next week I see you really being strong and flying solo and just thinking that you can do it all even if there's no one there. And it's amazing to be strong enough to know that all you really need is yourself. But of course, all of your loved ones around you, don't forget about them. It's amazing to have loved ones, but it's good to know that when things get tough or when you don't have anyone with you at a very moment, that you can rely on yourself and you know you can get things done and you can get through tough times. Then we have sensuality. So I see that next week, with all this confidence, with all of this sort of you energy and you knowing that, you know, you're a strong, independent person, I feel like this is the perfect time for you to explore your sensuality. So I feel like maybe you haven't really tapped into that recently, or you just feel like you're not that attractive or sexy of a person. And sensuality is here to tell you to reawaken that part of you that is sexy, that is attractive, that knows what they want. So make sure that you don't forget about the sensual side of you, especially if you're not in a relationship, you're a mom or a dad. Like, don't forget that you're still like a sexual being. That does not mean that your sensuality is dead. So make sure that you explore that side of you, as I feel like that needs a little bit of nurturing. So in the Five of Cups, that I feel like there is a part in your life, or you know, a relationship in your life that is making you feel sort of unfulfilled on an emotional level. So I feel like that could either be just with yourself. I feel like there may be a part of yourself where you're just not happy with on an emotional level, or there's someone who is close to you in your life or you wish were closer to you, and you just don't feel like you have that emotional fulfillment. So I see a little bit of withdrawal there, and I see you being sort of guarded and stepping away from that part of the relationship, stepping away from the whole relationship itself, and I just see a very guarded you. Then we have the Hanged Man. So I see that this situation may have been going on for a while. It has been something that may have been affecting you for a bit longer than necessary. I feel like it's sort of been keeping you, you know, hanged, like in limbo. It's sort of like you don't know what to do with this relationship in your life that is a little bit like emotionally unfulfilling and is making you a little bit sad. But the Hanged Man is also, you know, hanged voluntarily. So I see that you had a choice. You could have just left. You could have just abandoned that relationship, but you chose to stay. You know, you chose to have faith, and you chose to see, you know, what's going to happen. And I feel like you may reap a lot of benefits from that, because sometimes you just need to give things time, especially on an emotional level. And sometimes you just need to speak to someone and say, hey, you know, like, I'm emotionally like a little bit unfulfilled. Then we have the Knight of Cups. So definitely this situation in the Five of Cups is coming to an end, because the Knight of Cups shows me that, you know, he's coming in on a white horse, shining armor, and emotionally I see that you're going to go uphill again. I see that you're going to be fulfilled, and that this sort of emotional dissatisfaction, I feel like it was just a matter of time. Maybe you gave it too much time, I don't know that, but you did give it time nevertheless, and that helped. And I see in the Knight of Cups that I see that emotionally you're going to be a lot more stable, you're going to be a lot happier, and that next week you may not expect someone to come in and sort of swoop you off your feet. And that could be on a romantic level. That could also just be a relative just sort of giving you that emotional boost that you needed in order to be happy again. Then we have the Three of Cups. So the Three of Cups really confirms a time of celebration, a time of emotional fulfillment. So I see that while you may have been unfulfilled at the beginning of next week, I see like a very good progression into happiness, celebration, and just feeling all around fulfilled and loved. So if at the beginning of the week you feel a little bit isolated and a little bit down and a little bit emotionally like unfulfilled, don't worry, because I see that as the week progresses, you are going to get to a point where you're happy, you feel loved, and you know, you're celebrated. Then we have Epiphany. So I feel like something is going to become very clear to you, and that may be, you know, what the Hanged Man is trying to tell you as well. You might sort of notice that, okay, like I need to move on. I've tried doing this. I've tried this relationship. I've tried to make things work and they didn't. So I'm either going to move on with this person and just make it work however it is, or I'm just going to move on without that person. And that's how I feel like this epiphany is going to be for you. I feel like this epiphany has to do with you on an emotional level, because we have mostly cups, and cups are the suit of emotion. So you could also be a water sign. You know, this is a strong indication for water signs, but nevertheless, next week you are definitely going to have some sort of clarity coming true, some sort of epiphany. Then we have Good Fortune. So this is a card that is very welcome in any reading. So I see that if you invite magic in, if you let it happen, I see a lot of good fortune coming your way. And I feel like that has to do with the Three of Cups, you know, you having that sort of realization and feeling celebrated and loved. I feel like that will just lead to more good fortune, as you will be on a very high positive vibrational level by the end of the week. And we all know, like with the law of attraction, if you're positive, if you put out good vibes, you're going to get positivity and abundance right back into your life. And we have Peacock, raise your standards. So I feel like that definitely has to do with your epiphany and also with the Hanged Man. I feel like the Hanged Man gave you time to think, of your self-worth and what you really feel like you deserve. And I see that next week you're going to realize that you deserve to raise your standards, that you must raise your standards, and that may be your epiphany. So I feel like the clarity that you're going to receive next week, I feel like that definitely has to do with the Peacock and you just rediscovering your self-worth and knowing that you're worthy of only good, emotionally fulfilling relationships and nothing but positivity and love in your life. So those are the unexpected things that I see happening for you next week. Okay, you guys, so that was it for today's reading. I hope you enjoyed it and found it insightful. If you're new to my channel, do not forget to subscribe before you leave. And also, if you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That would really help my channel. So yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing, positive week. May all of the good fortune that I predicted come true. And I will see you guys in my next video.